Hey everybody, today I want to talk to you about some of the challenges we face with our food system. And there's two books in particular that helped me along my journey to understand a little bit more about the food system. One is Fast Food Genocide by Dr. Joel Fuhrman, and the second is Salt, Sugar, and Fat by Michael Pollan. And these two books pull back the curtain and show us a lot about some of the industrial food that we have today and what is problematic about this food, how it's addictive, how it causes us to crave more and more, and how it causes us to overconsume calories. And so to begin, let's think about what it is that Americans consume. 62% of the American diet is ultra processed foods. And these foods are loaded with pesticides, they're high in preservatives and high in salt. And so these kinds of foods are very damaging for our bodies, 62% from those. 25% come from animal products. And so those animal products are going to have high levels of feed that is sprayed with pesticide as well. They're fed lots and lots of hormones. They're given lots of antibiotics. And so there's lots of problems with the animal products as well. And then measly 13% of what's left is what we're eating with fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes. That 13% is what we should be eating the most of, because that's where all the nutrients are, right? The most nutrient packed foods on the planet are vegetables. And most Americans are not getting nearly enough vegetables. And so why are these foods so important? So new research is showing that it has everything to do with the gut microbiome. And so in our large intestine alone, there's estimated 38 trillion microbes, and those microbes are feeding on whatever we're eating. And so if we're eating pro-inflammatory foods and ultra-processed foods, we're going to have micro-ecology in our guts that's going to feed on those. And those are pro-inflammatory microbes. So those are going to create inflammation in the body. They're going to lead to disease down the road. When we're eating more of the fiber that is in whole plant foods, we're going to be consuming foods that are feeding a healthier microecology, right? Microbes that consume the plants are going to be beneficial for us, right? They're going to actually have anti-inflammatory qualities, and they're going to produce short chain fatty acids that are really, really healthy for us as well, which will help with balancing hormones, help with modulating immune function, and give us so many different benefits. And so what is it about these ultra processed foods, and why is it that we're so addicted to them? Well, it's all about science. And so the industrial food revolution brought scientists together to find out what is the tastiest food that we can eat and how do we make it. And so they'll put people in EKG machines and they'll look at their brainwave activity as they're consuming different types of foods, right? So the Doritos mix will have, the different varieties, and Doritos will be able to see, well, which flavor of Dorito is lighting up the brain and giving the highest release of dopamine, right? And with that technology, you're able to design these foods so that they're super, super addictive. And of course, this is the stuff that's causing all of the damage downstream. With our health issues that we're facing, the heart disease, a lot of the cancers, the type 2 diabetes, and so many other autoimmune disorders are all related to this dietary pattern of consuming all of these ultra processed foods. And so in moving away from this, as you're attempting to try to get away from the ultra processed foods, it's a challenge because you have a microecology in your gut that's going to crave those foods for a while. So the initial part of getting forward and getting away from those foods is a big challenge because of those microbes constantly wanting more, and they're actually signaling the brain to ask for those particular kinds of foods. And so what we want to be able to do, though, is we want to be able to move towards eating a healthier plant-based diet. And when we do that, those cravings eventually do go away when we're sustaining it. Now, there's debate here. Some people will say, on occasion, you can have this ultra processed food or that kind of like super processed sweet treat, whatever it might be. I'm of the belief that there's so much food addiction out there that it's better to abstain from these things, especially in the early stages when you're trying to get yourself away from them. Because when you go back and you say, well, I'm going to have a cheat day and I'm going to have this thing, it triggers that same dopamine receptor and it triggers that same kind of brain pattern that you had before. And then there's a likelihood of falling back into that pattern, right? So the reason why I avoid these foods at all costs is I don't want to go back to that old mind pattern of consuming those types of foods, because I know what it leads to. It leads to type 2 diabetes, it leads to heart disease, it leads to all kinds of challenges in our health and well-being. And so as you move towards a more whole food plant-based type of diet, you'll take steps to get there. The main thing is to start leaning into how you're feeling when you're consuming foods. And so after eating that ultra processed meal, don't ignore how you feel, right? Pay close attention to that and then try not to mask it. So we do a lot of masking when we're dealing with an issue in the body, right? A headache is there to tell us something. There's a release of toxins that's happening. When we mask it, all we're doing is bottling those toxins up again, right? So the body is telling us something. We're refusing to listen to it because we're addicted to the taste pleasure of those foods. We're addicted to that that cascade of dopamine that you get when you consume those types of products. And so getting away from that is certainly a journey. And my wish for you today is you start taking steps in that direction, that you recognize that the food system is created to deceive you, right? It's created to make you think that what you're eating is what's going to be helpful for you. Ultimately, it's tricking our biology, right, into thinking that this stuff is servicing us. And of course, the long-term effect shows up in the disease rates that we're seeing across the country and across any Western country where we're eating this industrial food type of diet. And so getting away from this is the ultimate goal. And when more and more people get away from this, you're thinking more clearly. Your mental health comes into order. Your body comes into balance, right? And all of these ailments and different things that were once bothersome start to disappear and start to go away. And you feel just so much better. And so is it worth it to make the switch? 100%, a million percent. It's absolutely worth it to start making that move to getting those ultra processed foods out and leaning in and eating more plant-based. And so that's what I wish for you now, is to set a goal to start adding those fruits and vegetables to your plate however you can get them in, whether it's through smoothies, whether it's on salads, put it on your sandwiches, any way that you can possibly add those greens, those beans, those legumes, those nuts and seeds, berries, fruits, all of that stuff is the healing medicine that we need to get better. So I wish you all the very best today. Thank you so much for listening, and please hit like and subscribe to our channel.